When the Voting Rights Act of 1965 was finally passed, African Americans turned out to the polls in numbers to exercise their right to vote.
You saw, after some of the legislation and after some of the civil rights work, you saw a big increase in the interest of black people in the political system, in the political circle. People like Shirley Chisholm.
She was the first black African American to run. She was a congresswoman from Brooklyn.
She was very engaging in traveling across the country and soliciting support.
Now, female and black too, she didn't stand a chance, but she just wanted to make a statement. And she got some press. And the press she was talking about discrimination and all of that. That was a platform she used to talk about discrimination, the lack of jobs and lack of opportunity in this country. So she used that as a platform. So therefore, she did get some votes, but she didn't get any white votes. And the blacks knew that there's not enough votes there to get her elected. Her run for the presidency was more or less to give her a platform for her philosophy, for her championing equal rights and things like that, for women and for blacks.
She awakened the political aspirations of Jesse, who was more forceful and, through a civil rights connection, had somewhat of a successful campaign, in particular the second time around.
Jesse Jackson, now he ran. Now his platform, he really was very good. He got a lot of black votes because he registered a lot of blacks. He registered a lot of blacks, and that was great for him, but he only got the black vote. He only got the black vote, but he got a lot of them. He caused a lot of them to register. Again, even though they knew that he would never be elected, it gave them something and a reason to vote and put their names on the ballot and count. They got to count.
It's interesting. I was at a conference in Gatlinburg, and my wife called me and told me that Jesse was looking for me. And so he called, and he said he needs some campaign money. And so the plane was about out of gas, and he landed in Gatlinburg. And at this conference, we collected some money and sent him on his way again to his next campaign stop. But it's very expensive in terms of carrying out a successful campaign for president.
Al Sharpton ran. Again, he ran like Shirley Chisholm, more of a platform for his philosophy and his, it's more for, I would say, for, I don't think any one of them ran, there was a spillover. They ran, well, Shirley Chisholm didn't. She ran for an altruistic cause, not for selfish reasons. Jesse Jackson didn't either for the first time. Even though he was building a platform for himself, a following. Al Sharpton was the same thing, kind of building a base, so in other words, that was a platform for him to use for his own philosophy, equal rights and things like that too, for civil rights and things like that. So that's why they ran.
He did not develop the kind of enthusiasm that Jesse did out there, but again, Al Sharpton is a very sharp, energetic person that demanded to be heard from and offered some good approaches to solving a lot of problems in America.
Most of the people who had run for president before were major images, but were never able to muster the attention to become a major candidate. And I guess a lot of it had to do with that they were so with the exception of maybe Shirley Chisholm, they were so narrowly viewed. You know, Al Sharpton, Jesse Jackson, these guys are very narrowly viewed. You know, their image is totally that of a civil rights worker. And perhaps that was what at one point was an advantage, but when you start looking at being the chief operating officer of the national government, it's a disadvantage. Somehow that didn't work in the in the mind of people when it came to Barack Obama, and it probably was because he was handled much more professionally.
Barack Obama, through his creativity, was able to muster the kind of resources that he was able to run a most successful campaign and to counteract all the negatives that were out there, in particular the negatives on him, you know, trying to deter his presidency.
Now, when it comes to voting, blacks will now vote. They got a larger number now who will always vote, no matter, even after Obama and everything, because they know now that their votes count.
Barack Obama was a symbol of something. He was that symbol of, you know, something different to a lot of people. I've heard that it was, you know, it was the acknowledgement of the dream. It was the, you know, we have overcome.
I think that all the efforts of the early 1960s in terms of the street protests, the sacrifice, those who were hurt, brutalized, murdered, maimed, paved the way for Barack Obama.
The Obama candidacy should serve to eliminate at least a lot of the feeling that we are no longer, or that we are the downtrodden, the disenfranchised, the poor victims. I mean, we now have a black president, and I never thought I would see this in my lifetime. I thought I would continue to see black governors for the rest of my life, and that would be the extent of it. Well, I've seen a black president. I mean, I've actually witnessed this. So now, do I still have a reason to feel disenfranchised and to say that, you know, I can't do that? No, I don't have, because he's proven now that not only can a black person be elected president, but he can do it with predominantly white vote.
There are so many people in America and in the South who gave so much, who sacrificed so profusely and shipped the trees so profusely so the fruits would fall for Barack Obama and others to pick it up. But they never benefited from that fruit themselves. They're still unemployed, underemployed, you know, still struggling from day to day. And that's a significant thing we've got to look at. We've got to find a measure of change. Barack Obama is president of the United States, but he does not have a magic wand to change the hearts and the minds and the economic conditions of African Americans in this country.
And I'm telling all the young people, go vote, no matter where you live. You know, you may vote for a candidate that doesn't win, but your vote does count.
I always grew up thinking that Martin Luther King would be the first serious black presidential candidate, but that was not meant to be. You saw, after some of the legislation and after some of the civil rights work, you saw.
She was the first black African-American to run. She was a congresswoman from Brooklyn.
She was very engaging in traveling across the country and soliciting support.
Big increase in interest of black people in the political system, in the political circle. People like Shirley Chisholm.
When the Voting Rights Act of 1965 was finally passed, African Americans turned out to the polls in numbers to exercise their right to vote.